Tara Show with Inspire into Action, interviewing women who are taking action in their business. Today, I am interviewing LeeAnn Sims. She's the author and also the coordinator of an event called Fit Fab. How are you doing today, LeeAnn?
I'm great, Tara. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I can't wait for you to tell the listeners about who you are and what it is that you're doing.
Great, absolutely. I can't wait to dig in too.
Yeah, so go ahead, tell us more about LeeAnn Sims.
So, hi everyone. My name is LeeAnn Sims. Thank you so much, Tara, for inviting me to come. I love the work that you and your husband do to inspire women to actually take action on their dreams. Mm-hmm. So, I'm the author of a book called Weight Loss Diva. And DIVA is an acronym that stands for Discipline, Inspiration, Victory, and Acceptance. And you might be thinking, why is a big girl writing a book about weight loss, right? Yeah. Well, let me tell you my story. So the Weight Loss Diva is about my personal experiences with the ups and downs and challenges and also some victories with weight loss. About 10 years ago, I lost half my size, 145 pounds. And throughout the course of the subsequent 10 years, I gained it all back plus some. And I had become the typical yo-yo dieter, the statistic, right? One thing that I feared the most. Mm-hmm. And in the Weight Loss Diva, I talk about how my big aha moment, which is, being skinny is not all that it's cracked up to be. It's really about, do you have the discipline spiritually, mentally, emotionally? Are you inspired every day? Are you seeking after God or something greater than you to push you forward? Do you walk in victory and celebrate the small wins in life? And also, have you accepted yourself for where you are? Since I was a little girl, as early as the 5th grade, I can remember sitting in the back of my public health class saying, man, I want to be one of the girls who loses weight when they get older. And over time formed this insecurity, which was very unconscious, about my weight and about fitting in. So translating that to now, I decided that I'm going to be okay with where I am while I'm going after my best self. So clearly I'm on my journey, but my journey does not have to look like everybody else's. I may never be the next Jillian Michaels, but I will be the best version of LeeAnn Sims that the world will be able to see. So the reason why I started Fit Fab Weekend is really, it was selfishly to create a network of accountability partners. The biggest excuse for not doing healthy things for me was always time. I don't have time to meal prep. I don't have time to take that exercise class. I don't even have time to plan out my meals throughout the week. And I realized that time became an excuse. And I probably spent more time complaining about the lack of time than I did actually acting on the things I set out to do. So in 2016, we launched Fit Fab Weekend. And I brought in some experts in health and wellness. I brought in some fabulous divas like Kiara Shear to talk about how do you balance getting healthier on a crazy schedule. Even brought in some experts on mental health awareness. And similar to Planet Fitness, it's a no judgment zone, right? So we had women from sizes 2 to 26, from ages 22 to 68, all coming together to take the break and prioritize your health. And we promise you 3 things. We're going to focus on getting you inspired, we're going to get you pampered, and we're also going to help you preserve your sexy. So that's what Fit Fab is all about. And I love to personally empower women. And really, I think the heart of my goal is to make women see the value that they have to bring in this world, regardless of the package that you're in. I've seen life from the size of 10 different women, being from a size 2 to a size 26 myself, and somewhere in between throughout my lifetime. And so I've been able to understand where a lot of women may be, whether they be on the successful side of their journey or dealing with the embarrassment of having to face your friends at church after you've gained some weight, and how do you deal with that? And I think that's really my value proposition, being able to empathize with women at whatever stage that you're in on that journey and carrying you along with me as I'm getting back on the so-called wagon.
Girl, I have had some amen moments all in between what you're saying. I was like, oh, that's so good. Especially the one you said about Jillian Michaels, because,
Yes.
you know, a lot of us, no matter what size you are, we have issues with that, with weight, with self-image, how we view ourselves. And it's easy for people who are smaller to maybe to avoid that because they fit within this mold. But just let something change in your body structure.
Yeah.
And then you realize that you had issues with self-image. And that happened for me when I became pregnant with my first son. And I was like, I was expecting just like this little baby bump that you see, you know, some people have. Mine was in my derriere and my legs, you know. I was like, what happened to the baby bump, you know? And I really had issues, and I didn't realize it until I had kids. We had to go to an all-white party. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then we're in Macy's, and I had a meltdown. My husband's like, I do not know her. Because I was like, I can't find anything to wear. And I was like, oh, I was so, that was when I came to that realization, like, wow, I really have body issues. I have body image issues as well. No, so it doesn't matter what size you are. You can have those same
really
issues.
Doesn't. I read a statistic that said most women think about or criticize their bodies 252 times a day.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? How much energy and time we're wasting worried about fixing, you know, pulling our shirt down, closing our jacket, fixing our hair, whatever it is. And I love to be fly like anybody else, but when it gets to the point that it's prohibiting me from living my best life, that's when it's a problem. And there's a quote that someone has said that I love called "Don't wait on your weight," right? You know, speaking of business, there's so many women who I encounter, and men included, who are waiting for something to go after that dream that God gave them. And, you know, well, I'm going to wait until I lose 10 more pounds, or I'm going to wait until I have this money, or I'm going to wait until I have these supporters. When really, if God's giving you the vision now, as you very well know, you just have to move and do it and trust that this is the right timing. And it sounds preposterous that someone who sits in the body that I do would set out to write this book, would set out to do this event 2 years in a row now. But I find that, just like you said, more and more women of all different shapes and sizes experience the exact same thing. So it's really not about weight loss. My ultimate goal is about building people up, right? And helping you to see the beauty that is in you, just like the way that God created you. And especially women who are Christians, right? Women of faith. We spend so much time pouring into other people and counseling them and praying for them that we don't always take the time to receive. And this, in a way, is my gift of service to other people, right? So let me take some time to pour into you, to love up on you, to make sure that you feel just as fabulous as I think you are. How many times have you complimented someone else and they're thinking how fabulous you actually are, you know? So we need more of that.
Right. Or you tell them how fabulous they are, and then they come with negative opinions or negative things to say. And you know what, we should be able to encourage one another and accept a compliment and just go forth, not compare, you know, or complain about, oh, you know, you're like, oh, LeeAnn, your makeup is so beautiful, and you're like, oh, but my hair is so, like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, just say thank you, and you can comment on them if you want to. If you don't, then, you know, just say thank you, and that's all.
Absolutely. Keep it moving.
Exactly. So I think you answered some of my other questions that I was going to ask, but I'll ask it again if there's something more that you want to add. So what inspired you, or what ignited the sparks for you to just move forward in this? I mean, you could have just wrote the book and then not have the event. But I heard you to say, you know, why you did the event, but is there some more that you wanted to share to that?
So when I first published the book, I had this dream of doing a huge health fair that was fun, right? Like bringing people together, having a huge expo of fun fitness demonstrations, giving people a chance to learn about practical nutrition advice or fitness advice that you could actually apply.
Mm-hmm.
I've read so many books, you know, on nutrition. I'm sure everybody has seen YouTube videos, but sometimes it's hard figuring out, well, what does that look like in real life?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to pull together, you know, some people who could help to answer those questions that I had in a really fun and interesting way. And I love a good party. I mean,
who doesn't love a good party?
Right. And I tell you what, I did get very gun shy. So after the day that I published, the day of my book signing 2 years ago, I've never had a panic attack before, but I felt like one was coming on, and it was early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my husband's man cave, and I had boxes of all of my books prepared, and we were getting ready to get on the road to go to the event. And I felt like, how dare I publish this, you know, given where I am, you know, given that I'm not where I want to be yet. And I ended up chatting with my brother-in-law, and after I got off the phone, I just prayed, and I prayed over those books, and I worshiped God, and I really felt kind of a release to say, it's okay, it's time. Mm-hmm. But kind of as an entrepreneur, you're going to have these moments where you feel like, I'm not worthy of doing this.
Yeah.
And with the event, of course, I had some of those moments too, you know, thinking about money, thinking about having the help. I'm relatively new to the area in which I have the event. I'd only been living here 2 years, mm-hmm. and I felt like I didn't have the support system of who would come, right? I don't know anybody here who is going to come. Mm-hmm. And actually a personal trainer who I'd been working with had his business for years, and we chatted about it as he barked orders at me doing push-ups. and he said, just do it, I'll help you, just do it. And maybe 3 months later, he said, are you starting it? And I said, no, I'm going to wait. He said, no, we're going to do it. And we sat there during the workout and wrote out the plan. And he kind of, you know, in a way, it was kind of God's little angel helping me to walk through the process. You know, your spouse is wonderful, your pastor is wonderful, but sometimes when someone who doesn't know you well believes in you, it also helps you to kind of push through. And it kind of got me to the point where I didn't need a crutch anymore, where I felt confident enough to move forward and do it on my own. So I felt like, in a way, he was my pusher. Same thing with publishing my book. I had a pusher. I usually say I'm a little risk adverse. I'm not your typical entrepreneur. I like safety, right? I like knowing where the money's coming from. I like knowing, you know, exactly how the plan's going to lay out. And God positioned me to have some pushers in my way to help me. And it kind of goes back to how I was raised. Both of my parents are entrepreneurs. My father has been in financial management for a long time, helping people build their businesses. He currently helps churches build, get funding for their buildings. My mother had 2 clothing stores in the Philadelphia airport growing up, one for adults, one for kids. And so I know all about the entrepreneur life, which is the reason why I was running away from the entrepreneur life. It's not for suckers. Like,
no, it's not.
Very serious, as you know. I still work my daytime job, but it's a lot of personal sweat equity, blood, sweat, tears, a whole lot of prayer that has to be put into it, but it's all worth it.
Yeah, it is all worth it. You know, you're right. It's not a game, and sometimes it's not all fun, but when you're able to push your own product or service, it's rewarding. And I think that, you know, you said something so good in regards to you explaining how you almost had a panic attack and how you were feeling these feelings of basic condemnation somewhat, like, how dare you? But to me, like, when I feel something like that, I feel like, man, something like the enemy is really trying to keep me from this. So it must be something really great on the other side.
Yeah.
And my husband and I have this thing, we say, if we push past fear, like, if you feel afraid, like, instead of running and retreating, you need to run towards it. Because on the end of that, it's just false. It's just all these built up things in your head that are telling you you can't do it, you know, the self-doubt, you know, and also just making, like, trying to sabotage yourself. And, you know, some of it's self-sabotage, and you have to really fight through that to get on the other side and say, hey, this is all smoke and mirrors, you know, this was not even real. And had I, you know, done this in the past, you would be farther along than you are now. But, you know, you can still change, and you can still run towards the fear instead of running away from it.
That's good. I like that. Run towards the fear instead of running away from it.
You got to run towards that. I mean, especially if you believe that God has given you this idea or this product or service, and you really believe that that's what God is giving you, then you got to go forward with it. I mean, there's all kinds of thoughts that are going to be in your head about what you can or cannot do, and you have to push past those thoughts, because if you have those thoughts in your head, you're not going to be able to do it. Even if you try that, whatever that is, if you have those self-doubt thoughts in your head, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to succeed.
It's interesting because I do believe doubt comes, right? That's a part of what happens. It always comes. It's how do you respond? You know, we know a lot of the scriptures that support, but my mother always has a saying that sticks with me, which is just doubt the doubt, right? So when the doubtful thought comes, then counteract it, right? So you know, if it says nobody's going to, do you really think people are going to come and support this? And then I would say out loud, well, why wouldn't they come and support it, right? Or, you know, just kind of think through it, reason with God, right? Like put it out there so you can get it out the way, address it, and then knock it out.
Yeah, that's good. And you put it out there. Don't just keep those thoughts in your head. Because you keep those thoughts in your head, they'll grow and they'll manifest and they'll be bushes up in there. And you know, you got to cut them down at the root and speak to those things. Yeah, you do. I'm telling you, every day you got to speak to those things. So LeeAnn, tell us when is the Fit and Fab Weekend?
Great. Fit and Fab Weekend kicks off Friday, November 3rd. Through Saturday, November 4th in Columbia, Maryland at the Sheraton at the Columbia Town Center, right behind the mall. We kick off Friday night with a healthy happy hour, dance fitness, pampering suite, shopping, the whole 9 yards. And Saturday, we start bright and early at 7:30 for sunrise yoga, and we go all throughout the day with inspirational speakers, health practitioners, and of course, more pampering. And so I'm offering all of your followers, Tara, a $25 discount. It's one of the biggest discounts we're giving, using the promotional code ACTION. So you want all of you to take action. And that will be available tonight. You can purchase tickets at fitandfabweekend.com. You can also go to that site to learn more about my book and other things I have to offer. So fitandfabweekend.com. And of course, you can check me out on social media channels on Instagram at fitandfabweekend, and the same thing on Facebook as well as Twitter.
So in regards to the event and writing a book, both, and answer this question on both of them. What are some things that you would never do again? And thinking back on writing the book, publishing the book, and editing the book, and all those things, and also doing the event, what are some things that you would never do again? You would advise anyone not to do if they were going to venture out and doing something similar?
That's a really good question. I have to think about it for the book, and I'll come back to that. For the event, I would never try to do it all again. So one.
Wait a minute, repeat that, because there was a little. Go
ahead.
Did it go out? Yeah, it went out.
So in regards to the event, I would never try to do it on my own. I made the mistake of thinking that I didn't need a big team. I was and so that would be my advice. Like, don't be afraid to share the vision with some people. Now, you have to do it prudently. You don't want to share it with everyone.
Right.
But this second year, I realized I didn't have to be Superwoman. And I work with a virtual assistant. I realized my cousin has the virtual assistant business. So I bought some hours so that throughout the year, she could help me with certain administrative things. I guess even going further on that response, I've realized what my weaknesses were, right? And where I needed to spend my time, where I would be most effective. So finding those places and those people that can help carry the load, like investing in that, investing in your business to do that. And I think in regards to the book, I would have done it sooner. I took a lot of time editing and trying to figure out what it should be. And it just took me too long. I would have gotten it out sooner. And I think that would have helped. And something else, I would have taken better care of myself the first year. So especially with, you're kind of grinding to a certain extent, right? Family, I work full time as well, and take care of a household, all those things. It can wear on you physically. And I'm doing this a bit about Fit and Fab, but I wasn't working out. Like there was a point, maybe 90 days before, when it was kind of push crunch time. All my focus, I was at my desk working and not really carrying out what I'm encouraging others to. So this year kind of built in some checks and balances to make sure that I'm doing those things that I'm actually talking about. And I realized last week, this past month, I've been traveling a lot for work and then focusing on this event, and realized that I hadn't worked out in a week, and it's I can't do that. So I kind of scheduled out for the next week when I'm going to take care of myself. So continuing that self-care is important.
Yeah, and that self-care is important in any area, because you seem, and I don't know why, we women, we always do this. We always put ourselves last, put everything before, working out. Or one of my friends, she said that we have to view exercising like breathing. Like if you take a breath, then you have to exercise.
Yeah.
And that's been her mantra in life. And I was saying, I need to adopt that for myself. I'm not really as active as I used to be. And I know that's one struggle for me, because it's like, when do I find the time? But I find time to do other things, we find time to do other things. So, I mean, it's just like, sometimes just 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 15 minutes, can really make a big impact.
It does. And it's all connected. God was showing me that it's all connected. So that physical activity, makes it easier, I think, more clearly, or simply it could be for me, just getting enough sleep, which I'm still working on because I'm up late working, but just getting the right amount of sleep helps me to wake up, to work out and make my lunch, whatever it is. So the other thing, this is probably the most important thing that I learned from last year, is I will never worry about this event again. I'm a believer, right? I'm a faith woman, but I was stressed out year one and worried about, where is the money coming from? Who's attending? Where are these sponsorship dollars? Trying to pay for the vision, trying to provide for the vision that God gave me, forgetting that, oh, wait a minute, He's the provider, right? And I got it towards the end. I started reading Dr. Dr. Freeman's book, Focus on the Promise and Not the Process. And so that helped me. But as I prepared for the second annual one, that was the biggest commitment that I made to myself, that I would not worry. And I'm tempted to, especially as it gets closer, but I bring myself back to that commitment, and then back to what I'm trusting, what I'm trusting God with, and just going back to the plan, right? So trying to look at the facts and not focus on the emotion that can come in. Going back to, where's the project plan? Are you on task? Really trying to think creatively, get some witty inventions and ideas around who else do you need to connect with? What other networking events do you need to go to? Like trying to continue to be strategic in the middle of the operational process.
I like that book, and focusing on the promise and not the process, and not getting all kilter. But then also, you know, Pastor Mike also says, if it's something that God has given you it's a vision that he's giving you, he's going to pay for it. You know, he's going to provide for that. But if it's your idea, you got the bill and you're going to pay for it, you know. So you'll know which one it is depending on how that works out for you. And what he says, if it's God's will, it's his bill. And if it's your will, then it's your bill. I think that's exactly what he says. So, but let's look at the corresponding question. What are some things that you did great that you'll do again, that you're doing again currently?
Networking was huge for me. As much as an extrovert as I am, I didn't think that I had enough time to network because I had so much to do, right? But I found that my most critical partnerships were birthed out of my networking. So I took the time to go to various conferences, to do vending at events, to talk to people in the grocery store, to go to different meetings, to talk to people at work, share about my business when I normally would be shy to, just kind of, I call it taking the risk to connect, and building the relationship so it's mutually beneficial, not just trying to get people to buy a ticket, you know, or to sponsor, but to actually say, well, how can I support you as well? I did a lot more to support other people, realizing that in a way that's a seed, you know, that I'm sowing. And then it turned into, I just want to. So that's something that I would recommend anybody do, continue to network. And that's probably the biggest thing.
Okay. And anything in regards to the book that you would do again?
Definitely. So I found some resources, I guess, within my network that helped me to finish the book. So a very good friend of mine, my college roommate, very close friend, and we were the same major in college, and then she was just a very excellent writer. And so I hired her to be my editor. So it was much less expensive than if I went to a huge publishing company, but I also invested in her by paying. But I found it right within my circle. And even currently, the virtual assistant that I use, my publicist who I use, are people who are within my circle. It can be risky, right? Because if they're friends or acquaintances, if you have a little tiff, you got to figure out how to deal with it. But just character building, you'll be all right.
You're absolutely on point. I love it that you sow into people that you already know. You keep it, and the thing is, and then the main thing you're saying is so key, is that you invest. Because a lot of times in this being in business for yourself, and you want to help people, and you see them bearing off, the only way that you feel like you can help them is if you offer them for something for free, and that's not really necessarily helping them. And then, or people want your service or product and they need your help, and then they want you to give it to them for free. That's not how we do it. You know, you would want someone to pay you for your service and what you're doing, so why not reciprocate the exchange? So I think that's really awesome that you're doing that. And you're right, you know, sometimes you can get into some disagreements, but it's an opportunity, like you said, for character building, and also to work on your conflict resolution skills. You know, being able to communicate with people, you know, communicate effectively, and still be able to have a friendship, you know, still being able to do business. And if there's something that they did that you didn't like, or not even like, that you didn't think was good for business, you know, being able to communicate that to them so they'll know next time not to do that, or not to post that, or whatever it is that they did, you know, communicating that. And that just comes with life, and in general, you have to be a very good communicator. So what are some skills that you think that people need to have in order, if they want to become an author like you, or they want to hold an event like yours? What are some skills that they need to have?
Okay, so in terms of becoming an author, you have to work on your writing and your editing skills. There are different books out there that help you with grammar. You know, you can go online. There's different things that can help you figure out how do you write. I love leveraging my network to give me insight and feedback. So I've tapped into people who are really great writers to get some feedback on that. And the more I write, I think the better that it gets.
Yeah.
The other thing that translates to the book and to the event is solid project management skills. So in my personal life, I struggle with being late, different things like that. But I've had to really work on project management. And some of that came from my different experiences with my work, taking some of the things that I've learned in the workplace and applying them to my own business, that same level of discipline, having a project plan, staying on top of the dates, and understanding what are the dependencies that are going to be in your way or help you to get to that next goal, and putting in place some checks and balances. My editor who I worked with, I leveraged her as my project manager, right? Because I was focusing on being creative. It was hard to switch to focusing on timelines and process. So she would give me dates, and we aligned the work that I owed her according to those dates to keep me on task. Similarly with the event, I'm the chief project manager for this, but I do leverage my project plan to know, okay, when do I need to get the signs created from the designer? Or when do I need to send out this email? Different things like that. And it also keeps, it also will keep you in peace of mind if you don't have to worry about where you are in the process, but you have it clearly laid out. So project management is one, writing skills is another. We talked about communications and networking. I would also say production, right? So I have experience and history with being a director and doing production work for plays and like that in different events. And so I was able to apply some of that creativity and the gift of script writing and lighting and all those different things to my actual event, which really went a long way. Trying to see what else. Those would be some of the main pieces. Oh, the other thing is sales. So with the event, you obviously want to sell tickets, but you also want to sell sponsorships. And so I spent some time really developing a sponsorship kit and worked with some people who are really good at that to get insight, but really using that to sell. When I was 18 years old, I became a Mary Kay consultant. I was on my mother's team. She was a pink Cadillac driving director, sales director. And so some of the tough skin that I built up in sales then helped me receive the no's from these large companies I'm approaching to invest in my business opportunity. So the other skill, which is more of a soft skill, is just that persistence and tenacity. And you develop that over time. Like I said, I didn't see myself as being the model entrepreneur, but you kind of build it over time. So in Mary Kay, as a direct salesperson, you learn how to receive no's. And so I had a game where I would try to get 20 no's. And I would keep going in submitting sponsorship requests until I got at least 20 no's. And so when someone said no, it wasn't a negative thing, but it was a positive thing. Because I said, oh, great, I have 5. I only have 15 more no's. But
I can just hear you on that line. I can hear you on the line like, yes. And then I'm like, what is she talking about?
Right, exactly.
That's an awesome way to think about it. I'm telling you. That's a great skill to develop. I'm telling so many people, they hear one no and they're ready to pack up and stop the business. I know. That's a major obstacle in people and people becoming an entrepreneur, is they don't know how to receive no.
Yeah. And just being okay with, so many people ask, well, how did you get Kier Sheard? How did you get Gugu Atkins? How did you get these people who are well known to speak at your event? You just started. I just asked, right? So I asked some people, they told me it would be something well out of my reach, but sometimes you ask and it works out. So the worst they can say is no.
Yeah, yeah. And also I would say probably another skill is negotiating skills, because
Yeah,
I mean, you said sales, but negotiating skills, because everybody, you know, like you said, someone may put out a price out there that you really, really want them, but like you really don't want to pay that. And it's not whether you can afford it or not. You can afford it because God says you can, but it's like, I don't really want to pay that much, but I really want you at my event. So is there something that we can work out? And I think that's in our personal conversation that you and I had, and you would share something like that. But I think that's really key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And it's also, I'm finishing up business school right now. So kind of learned about the art of valuing your own business. And so with this, how do I put a value to a large international brand to sponsor my event when I have, you know, maybe attracting less than 100 people, since we're just starting for now, right? And you have to really think about what's your value proposition. What are you bringing to the table that's different? And so really spending that time to envision that and being confident about what you have to offer and knowing why it distinguishes you from others. Because there's so many, especially events, there's so many events out there and they begin to kind of look the same, but why is yours different? Really think about your value proposition.
That is so key. And many people, some people may not even understand what a value proposition is, first of all. And then having to come up with the words that communicate to someone why they should invest in your business. What value are you bringing that stands you apart from someone else? You know, they don't understand that. So it's important, like you said, earlier on in the game, when you're coming up with these ideas, these events, this business, this book, what makes you different from someone else? Because, you know, there's a lot of other people out there writing books. There's a lot of other people, like you said, doing events, and a lot of people out there doing talk shows, you know. So like, what makes you different from somebody else? And knowing that is how it's important for communicating to people what you bring to the table, what you offer, and how we can work together and collaborate. So I think that those are great skills that you share, great skills.
Because once they come, they'll experience the greatness. Like, you know, your product is great or your offering is great. You just have to get people there. You just have to convert them to buy it. Once they do, then they're hooked, right? Or hopefully that's a goal, but most likely they are. But it's, how do I reel them in, you know, in a way that feels authentic?
Yeah, exactly. And not too salesy, because people don't like to be sold to, but they like for people to tell them information that they feel is valuable and that they feel that they can buy. You know, because everyone out there does have a problem, but when you come off salesy, they're not trying to hear you, even though they know that maybe your product or service can meet their needs. But if you go around selling them and that's all that you have to offer, every time you see them, you're talking about your business or your service or whatever, then after a while it's gonna be like, let me walk. Oh, here she comes again, you know, talking about her event. Oh, here she comes, you know, that type of thing. And you don't want it to be a situation like that. So
you don't, but it's hard not to, though. You know this when you have something that you're passionate about, and also when you're, I call it hustling.
Hustling, I mean, you're so excited. You're so excited about it. I mean, and it's like the song, I'm so excited, I just can't hide it. You know, you're like, you want to tell him, screaming from the rooftops, because my service or product is the best. And, you know, those people that don't want to hear it no more, they'll let you know. But it's just all about your approach. Like, if you really genuinely are others driven and you care about how people succeed in life, like you care, I hear that you genuinely care about people and their health and how women view themselves. So that comes across clearly to me. So I wouldn't expect to hear anything else come from your mouth than that. And if I heard some self-doubt, I'm like, whoa, LeeAnn, like, what are you talking about? You know, and that's how, like you said, you build accountability with others. So all these people at the event, if they see each other later on in life, they're gonna be like, whoa, weren't you at the Fit Fab? Like, why are you acting this way? You know, what we learned at the Fit Fab Weekend, you know, it's a good opportunity, like you said, for people to be accountable to one another, but also to have fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to take action today, they had an event or a project that they have going on that they really feel passionate about, or they have a book idea, how can people take action today in order to accomplish their goals?
Sure, it's a great question. Okay, one, find somebody who you might model after, right? So is there an event that you would see as, if I could have an event, this is what I would want it to look like?
Right.
Or if I could write a book, here is the format that I would want to look at. So the first step is do your research, right? So look through, there's so many tools out there, Instagram, other social media platforms, Google, go into different chambers of commerce, whatever it is, and to engage with people who are a little bit closer to where you want to be, and start to do some research and just start to write out. So I'd say, one, do your research. Two is to write down your vision. What do you, if you could have it all, what would that look like? And jot that down.
Yeah.
And then you can back into, here's phase one, here's phase two. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I would say is just take the first step and start. So in regards to writing a book, the easiest way to write a book is to just start today. Mm-hmm. So pull out your notepad on your cell phone, grab a notebook at home, whatever it is, and just jot down your thoughts. Don't worry about organization or formatting right away. Just write as much as you can. Mm-hmm. My book came out of a freehand writing session, and the principles came out there, and then I went back and I finished it and wrote from there. Wow. So take the step and write. And as far as the event, the same thing. Just take the step. Go look at a venue, mm-hmm. right? And just go there, or do something that will commit you to doing it. Yeah. I would say also you want to find someone who believes in your dream as well. Mm-hmm. If you're married, a lot of times that's your spouse. Mm-hmm. So share that vision with them, or if you have a best girlfriend, best guy friend, share that with them, someone who you trust, your mentor, what have you, because everyone, I believe, has their Elizabeth, right? There's someone else who you can speak with, yeah. who will, where your vision will leap with, right? So you'll talk with them and you'll start bouncing ideas off each other, and it will really begin to come to life. Someone to pour water on your dream. And of course, pray, right? So, during the event, even with my book, there were certain scriptures that I identified that I stood on faith with. So as I was going through the process and I felt like I didn't want to continue, I can go back to my why. Yeah. And I could go back to those encouraging words or scriptures or the vision that God gave me to help me to move forward. And practically speaking, in regards to your book and your event especially, is you need a budget. Right. Mm-hmm. So once you come up with your vision, you phase it out to see, how do I get there? You have someone who you trust, who you're able to creatively think through the ideas. You have some scriptures to stand for. Practically, you need a project plan and you need a budget. Right. Mm-hmm. So set a date for yourself right away. When do I want to accomplish this by? Mm-hmm. Okay. First quarter 2018. Okay. Which month? Oh, all right. February. Okay. What date? And then back into it that way. And from there, come up with, how much money do I need to accomplish this? You'll get that from the research that you do, and it'll be refined, but it'll at least give you a goal. And then, of course, how do I get that money, right? And that might come from your network as well.
Those are awesome keys. I mean, all of them are good, but in any situation, you gotta have that word to stand on. I mean, whether it's in planning an event, author, or even childbirth, whatever that mountain is for you, you gotta have that word to stand on. Because when it becomes unbearable for you, that's the only thing that keeps you standing firm. I mean,
absolutely.
And for those people that aren't believers that are listening to this interview, like, you should know, like, we're just not talking. It is true and honest, because the word stands when everything else falls, and God is a keeper of his word. He is a keeper.
He is, absolutely. Yeah. I have, going back to Dee Dee Freeman's book, Focus on the promise and not the process. One of her practical recommendations was, have a list of your scriptures that you're going to stand on, but also have a faith playlist. Come up with a playlist of songs that will get you pumped or remind you of what you're going after. So on my Google Play, I have a Fit and Fab faith playlist, and I go to that when I'm feeling, discouraged or whatever it might be. And I also have a prayer that I wrote down for what I'm praying for the women who will attend my event. And that goes back to my why. Why am I doing this? And I pray over the ladies who will attend.
Wow, that's awesome. But and also one more to that is like to add a list of things that God has already done for you. When you start looking over all the things that God has done for you, and those doubts and stuff, you're like, wait a minute.
I'm telling you,
like a remembrance plate.
Right.
Like remember when he allowed you to slay the bear and slay the lion.
Yes.
Who is this Philistine right here?
That's so true.
Yeah, because when you reach back in your memory, but it's gotta be something visual and written down, because you forget. You forget. You'll wander through the wilderness like the children of Israel, and they'll forget that you even came from all this slavery and all this hard times, and you'll want to go back to Egypt, and you're like, wait a minute, you want to remember all the things that happened to you in Egypt. So you got to have those things written down. But the playlist too, all those things are great, because you gotta stand firm on the word, not just on the word. Yeah. And I like that, how you pray for all the women that are going to attend. That is a blessing. That is a blessing. It was awesome to talk to you. Thank you for interviewing with us. Thank you for all the information that you share with the listeners. So glad that you were able to take this time out in your schedule to share with us about the Fit and Fab Weekend and all that fun is going to happen. And also, you said after you were talking about the event, you were saying that there's going to be a special for the Inspire into Action listeners.
Yes, there is. So I am excited to offer all of you a $25 discount on your ticket to Fit and Fab Weekend. And you can use the promotional code ACTION. And so ACTION. And that will be available starting tonight.
All right.
So you can go to fitandfabweekend.com to purchase your ticket and to just learn more about the event. There's some highlight reels, some different things there for you. And also on the site, there is information about where you can purchase my book, The Weight Loss Diva, as well.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.